So I'm Tim Panton, and I want to talk to you about adding value to calls with adornments. And before you start worrying that there's something wrong with your vocabulary, it's not a common word. Nobody normally uses it. And I thought it'd be kind of interesting to use it because it sort of meant something. And I'm Steely Glint on Twitter if you want to follow me or criticize me or something. I was the founder of PhoneFromHere.com. I'm now a senior engineer at Voxeo Labs. But I'm still interested in the voice and web and mashups and tying those things together because I think that the web is the poorer without real-time audio, and I think telephony is dull without all the innovation that the web can bring. So I'm quite keen to bring those two things together, and that's what I'm spending my time on at the moment, which is things like Phono, which Chris so brilliantly demonstrated earlier. More brave than I am, I can tell you. And RTC Web, which he touched upon, where we're working hard in the standards group to try and make the HTML5 real-time component not just a SIP phone sucked into a browser, but something that is a core thing that can turn into something innovative and provide new services, not just the existing services glued into a screen. We're working hard on that. But that's not what I want to talk about. What I really want to talk about today is some stuff that I did at PhoneFromHere.com, and it's about adding value. So what is an adornment? Well, it's something that you hang on something else to make it look prettier, more interesting, but not actually different. It tells you something about the beast on which you're hanging it, perhaps, but it doesn't actually change the nature of the beast. It's still a small dog, even if it does have an Olympic medal around its neck. And you can go too far with these things. This is a friend of mine's Christmas tree, and you can see the tree there, but only just. So you can overdo this, but you can do it perfectly. So for me, there are three things in that picture that draw me. There's her eyes, her mouth, and the earring. She'd still be there, she'd still be her, and she'd still be drop-dead gorgeous without the earring, but it does add something. So a perfect adornment is something that adds value or desire. But it doesn't change the nature of the thing. It doesn't fundamentally alter anything. It just adds stuff. And the thing still works without it, right? So it's critical that for an adornment, the Christmas tree is still a Christmas tree, however much or little tinsel you hang on it. It's still a tree. And so in that sense, it's entirely optional. The adornment isn't something that you have to have. And it's equally critical that it doesn't get in the way. You want an adornment to feel a natural part of the thing, a natural enhancement to the thing, and not undo it. So, a little bit of telephony history. Telephony came out of this kind of world, and that's all about call control. It's all about call routing. And kind of once the call is bridged, the two callers are talking, then that's it. You know, we step out. We now no longer take any kind of active role in the thing. I'm just going to take a second out. Randy, could you do me a favor and could you kick the VUC off?
I'm going to try to do that.
Okay, cool. So, since those days, in my view, not a great deal has changed in telephony. We haven't added a huge amount to where we were there, of doing call routing, call control, and maybe a little bit of call recording. Okay? We really haven't changed a huge amount. We've added encryption, but Alan Turing was doing that in the 40s. So it's not a huge step forward since then. And things like listening in, whisper and those sorts of modes, okay, they're interesting, and they're actually within the call, and they're during the bridge, but they're not fundamentally new. So what can we do to adorn a call, to make it more valuable, to make it better, to make it more desirable, but without fundamentally changing it, without breaking the paradigm? So current things that people do to calls are they make them wideband. So during a call, you get a better experience because it sounds better. They add encryption, but as I said, that was done in the 40s. You know, that's hardly new. Caller ID does genuinely add to the value of the call. You know, you know something about the call even as you pick it up, and during the call you have a reminder of who it is you're talking to, and in some conferencing engines they'll switch over. So, but I think we can do way better. We can do much better than this if we choose to. Now, I'm going to show you a video. I had hoped to do a live demo, but the gods are against me in some important respects. So I'm going to be boring and show you a video, but we may try and do the demo at the end if we still have time. So what 3.2 does is a really simple concept. It's a thing from Metaswitch. And basically, you place a call to somebody else in exactly the normal way, and during the call, you have the opportunity to exchange information, a fairly limited set of types of information, like where you are, calendar invites, photographs, that kind of stuff, during the call. And it doesn't actually travel over the bearer channel. It's not part of the call in the sense that the data flows with it, but it uses the permission and the existence of the call to trigger that potential exchange. I'm making it sound complicated, and it actually really isn't, which is nice. So I'm going to try, at this point, to plug the audio in. There we go. And find where the video's gone. And play this. Or not. Huh. Or not. No. Yes, maybe. Well, certainly not in 720p, I can tell you that. So maybe this will kick in and maybe it won't.
Would be one of your demos.
It would be one of my demos. It would indeed be. Here we go. But it's the reserved demo, which is even more annoying. Huh. Do we have that camera around here?
Yeah.
I'm going to now. So talk amongst yourselves for a second while we put the camera on, and I will do a live demo, and they'll be even stupider. So what we need to do now is push the button and go to the streaming app. Technology, who needs it? So I press this button, a bit harder, longer. There we go.
Hold it until it starts flashing.
Yeah, got you. Oh, no. Yeah. Huh. Okay, so we do the final desperate move of watching it in FaceTime. Oh, there we go. Okay, start preview. Come on, camera. You can do it. Or not. What am I doing wrong? There we go. Okay, so live demo time. Scary live demo time. So that's my iPhone. And can we see it just about?
Use something else like
So we start the through to app. Here we go. And I click on a person. I don't know. Actually, I'll tell you what, no, that won't help anybody. So that's as good as it gets. It'll be reasonably clear what's going on. So if I click on one of these users, if I click on call a participant, whoops, I'm really not doing this well. Okay, contacts. There we go. So I call a user, pick a user, call a user in the normal kind of iPhone-ish way. And with any luck, a call goes through.
Hello.
Hey Liz, you're live in front of, I don't know, 100 people?
Oh, hi, 100 people.
Hi.
Say hi to Liz, yeah, cool. So, so with any luck, any second now, I should get a notification that I'm in a through to call. Hasn't turned up yet, unfortunately, so maybe you could tell us a little bit about how you came up with through to while I'm waiting for that notification.
Sure. So, well, we were pretty much, we were in this really dream situation of a small team being asked to do some innovation in the mobile phone space, and we had a number of people in the team who were really familiar with Android, and we thought a bit about how it would be nice to be able to do things on a phone call that aren't just talk to each other, and 3.2 was what we came up with. So the problem, I think, Tim, is that right now your phone doesn't have a data connection.
You reckon? It seems to, it thinks it has, but it obviously not.
Mm.
Okay, cool. So,
Shame.
okay, so, sorry?
Share my location with you with an SMS just for.
Yeah, okay, do that. But I'm puzzled why I haven't got data on here, because I had. It's showing. Oh, there we go. Oh, we've got it. So that's.
Oh, we got it. Okay.
I think so. Just got something through. There we go. Yeah, a limited number of hands. Yeah. So that's totally failed, actually. I've got an SMS. So we'll go back to the call. Right. So the point there, which we totally failed to prove, was that what we proved is you need a data connection, and I'm not getting one. So that's what always happens at these demos. But the point, so I encourage you to go and download through to yourselves, install it on your own phones with working data connections, and at that point you'll be able to see what it actually does. What it will do for you is to exchange data, data points like where you are, location, dates, times, that kind of stuff. So we'll go back to actually. What? Okay, well we'll try that then. The gods aren't with me. So I encourage you, like I say, to download through to on your iPhone or your Android phone and run it yourselves. I'm giving up on this particular part of the demo because it's not critical to what I actually wanted to say. It's one of the possible things. So the point about it is that when it works, it's better. It's not fundamentally different. It doesn't get in the way, except when it does. And it hangs off the call. So the authentication is about the call. It's done by you having placed the call. So the other thing I wanted to talk about was something that we did at phonefromhere.com. This microphone is the wrong one. Okay. So something we did at phonefromhere.com for the VUC. Oh yeah, that's better. There you go. So the VUC. So the VUC is a weekly conference call on VoIP and technology. About 40 people call in every Friday, although this week it's a Thursday. And they talk about technology and voice over IP and stuff like that. And there's a back channel. So there's a text back channel that people use to exchange URLs, exchange email addresses, product codes. So that's a classic one. Is it the SPA 735 or whatever? That doesn't come over particularly well necessarily on a call, but it does come over much more easily in IRC. Now, we were interested in this, but we thought it'd be fun to run a Skype gateway. So we used the Skype for Asterisk thing to run a gateway to allow people to call into the call who weren't necessarily at their SIP phones for one reason or another. And quite a few people use that. 10 or 15 people a week will use that. But Skype people aren't IRC people. So the Skype people were tending to miss out on the IRC conversation. So we thought it would be interesting to join those two things up. So what we thought we'd do is adorn the Skype call with IRC. So now, is it up?
There's people talking.
Excellent. Cool. Well, let's do that.
But we have a kind of lousy packet loss.
No, that's fine. I don't really. So the point about this is I'm now going to call into the VUC, maybe, if I have any kind of connection at all. I have a video for this as well. So. But it's not a YouTube video. It's actually local. So I have no connection. I think no, that's not going to fly. Which is weird because Skype thinks it's got a connection. Right. Okay, so it's video time. Right, so this is me doing the same thing earlier, like Val Singleton. So what? So there we've got, on that side we've got the IRC channel. And people are kind of moving around in it and doing stuff, and there's stuff going on. And on this side, I have the VUC call. So I place Skype, and I place a call to the VUC. And because it's a recording, it actually works. And then what you see is, if you look carefully at the bottom of the IRC channel, you see that a new user, phone from here, adds itself to the IRC channel. And then whatever I type in here turns up in the IRC channel and vice versa. So we get the two-way conversation without really, I haven't specifically authorized anything. I haven't clicked, I want to connect. I've just gone into the call, and I'm naturally adding the IRC to it in a way that just fits in. So, hey, some technology that actually worked. So back to the slides. Well, how did that work? Well, most weeks it works really well for most of the people. The funny thing is that nobody notices. Right? People just use it without really being conscious that it's there. I've had several people come back to me weeks later and say, but hang on, how did the IRC chat get into the Skype? And the answer is, well, quite a lot of work actually, but from the user's point of view, it's invisible. And for me, good tech, and particularly good adornments, don't get in the way. So the trick there is to use the available information that's part of the call. So that's things like identity, destination, and the timing. So it closes the IRC subscription at the point when we hang up. So that's a very natural way that would work. So technically, how did it work? Well, it had Asterisk. So Asterisk was in the middle of this. Skype for Asterisk, which is sadly no more. Well, it still works, but you can't buy it. And it'll stop working in whatever it is, 18 months' time, because Skype canned it. Uses the AMI interface. Asterisk Java. So those of you who aren't Rubyists but want to do the kind of stuff that Ben was talking about earlier, well, Asterisk Java is another route to the same thing. You can have can get at the AGI, you can get at the AMI in a nice modern language without having to grovel around in I shouldn't have said that, it's an asterisk crowd, without using the dial plan. And I used the PIRC Java classes for doing the IRC subscription stuff. And I used Groovy as glue so that I didn't have to type too much, and it took care of a lot of stuff. Groovy's a scripting language that's layered on top of Java. So here's the big picture. You've got, on the left-hand side, you've got, the right-hand side, you've got SIP users and IRC users coming in two different channels to two different data sources. And on the right-hand side, we've got a much more unified thing using Java, Asterisk, and Groovy to present Skype users with a unified experience. But actually, we did the same thing for Google Talk users. That's a little less stable because both Digium and Google keep moving the goalposts on the Gtalk interface. So I wouldn't promise from week to week whether that will work or not, but the Skype one works pretty reliably. So the Groovy stuff I did there was a thing called a Groovy event filter, which I wrote. It's a concept I came up with. Stole some of the ideas from other people, but at heart, it's a kind of relatively new thing. So the idea is that you take the events that Asterisk is throwing out of the AMI, and you can filter them and look at the ones only the ones you're interested in. And if those ones meet a particular set of criteria, then you can act upon them. So here's a Groovy script. And what I'm doing is I'm creating a filter for events that are new channel events. So a new channel comes up in Asterisk because there's been a new call coming in. And then this filter will get offered that event. And it will look, what we'll do is we'll look to see whether the context of the new channel event is the VUC Skype. And if it is, then I've got something to do. And if it isn't, then it's another call that's nothing to do with this process. And if it is, I create a new action here that goes off and does something with that event. And in fact, in this case, triggers off the Skype IRC gateway for that single channel. And then you'd have a matching one of these at the end of the call to close it all up and tidy up. And in the middle, you'd have ones that caught the message events and sent them in the right directions and changed the text if needed. So a Groovy adornment is a collection of event filters. It's a start one, a finish one, and some ones in the middle, typically. Although it may just be a single event. You might want to translate all messages that come in English and send them out in French. You could do that in a single step in this kind of thing without having to, and you could layer that on top of some other activity like this. So you can layer these things on top of each other, and that's quite important so that you can generate isolated pieces of code, much more modular pieces of code that way. So what we're doing there is creating a collection of event filters that together act to make a whole coherent user experience. Yeah, you can have the code if you really want, but it's A, a mess, and B, dependent on Skype for Asterisks, so if you don't already have it, then it doesn't help you. But if a couple of people ask me, I will check it into GitHub, and you can have it. I don't feel any problem with that, but I'm not that proud of the commenting style or anything. So what kind of the message I really want to get over, apart from the fact that technology never works, and it's because James is in the audience, it is that the future calls need to be made more valuable. If we want the voice industry to continue, and we want people to continue making calls, we need to start using the glass that surrounds the call now. You know, there's a lot of glass here, there's a lot of pixels that we're not letting people use, and we need to start doing that. We need to make the call more relevant by doing that, more personal, and we need to cross media over. We need to add text to calls, we need to add images to calls. We need to tie these things together. And if we don't do that, then we'll disappear, I think, as a separate communications channel. So There are some other technologies that are coming down the line. This is the good news, that there are technologies coming down the line which will support these kinds of concepts really well. There's the Asterisk SCF platform, which interfaces really nicely to things like Groovy, so you can write these kinds of things in modern languages. It supports, as I recall, they're called hooks and filters, but the ability to tie actions to events within, quite deep into the heart of the Asterisk SCF engine. You can get in there and change the events, you can filter them. And brilliantly, it has the concept borrowed from the web. It has the concept of session cookies. So your call can have a cookie associated with it, which will move around throughout the rest of the call's lifetime, and you can associate data with that. And that's the kind of thing that you can really use to help trigger things like adornments. You'll hear more of this week. I think, well, there was a session next door just recently, and I'm sure there'll be more sessions in the week on Asterisk SCF. And one of the other platforms that's coming out is Rayo. Rayo is actually not a platform so much as a protocol. And I like to think of it as kind of AMI and AGI, but for this century, using kind of much more modern ways of looking at things and much more secure and federatable data. So it's based on XMPP, which allows you to do federation in a clean and secure way. It's being adopted by, well, Telefonica are using it, and there are other telcos who are interested in it, but it also scales right down to things like, a small Asterisk instance or a small instance running, well, whatever. It doesn't matter. In principle, given that it's just a protocol, you could run it on whatever you wanted to run it on. It features things like interception, so you can take events and intercept them and do stuff with them. So which again makes it a really good platform for adornment. So my message is kind of, let's forget about least cost routing. If it's a cent or a cent and a half a call, frankly, the user's time at either end of that call is worth vastly more than that. We should be driving the value up of their perceived value of them spending their time on the call and not worrying about the last fraction of a cent on the call, because we've done all that. That's all done. We know how that's done to a good degree, and I think it's much more important that we start adding value to the calls, and not just as part of the start of the call, the routing, which is important, but again, I think we've kind of done that. I think we need to start adding value to the running call, to the body of the call where people are spending their time. They need to make that more rewarding. So, I mean, there are toolkits out there. You write your own, or you can use the ones that I've mentioned, or maybe there are others I don't know about. But I think there's an opportunity here to add a pearl to your to the picture, to add some value to the adornment, to the call through something like an adornment. So that's what I wanted to say, and I'm regretful that I didn't manage to get that call, either of those demos to work. But hey, that's how it goes.